What up, nation? Welcome to another edition of the WiseTake KBO Daily Fantasy Sports Wise Stream. CK013 here. You can find me on Twitter at CK_013, and I, of course, am from the WiseTake Nation, which you can find on all the social media platforms listed above or directly at WiseTake.com. We are a premium DFS content provider as well as a DFS community design to help make you a better DFS player. So go check us out at WiseTake.com. If you're new to the channel, welcome. Glad you found us. Please subscribe, hit the notifications bell. Don't miss out on any of the free DFS content we do on this channel. We cover all sorts of sports. We got NASCAR going right now. KBO, if we get some larger League of Legends slates, maybe like 3 games or more, I do plan on doing some streams for that as well. And right now, everything at WiseTake.com is free, so take advantage. It's not always going to be free, but right now it is, so make sure you take advantage. We're covering KBO for DraftKings. I'm currently working on some FanDuel content as far as projections go. We're pretty close. Just got to figure out the pitching thing, which shouldn't be a problem, but hopefully, after tomorrow's day off, I could work on it, and we can get some FanDuel action going as well. But I do write a breakdown at WiseTake.com that's completely free. We offer projections for DraftKings, cheat sheets for DraftKings, whatever it is to help you build some lineups. So go take a look and see what some of our content looks like, and we'll kind of take it from there. We're hearing that NBA is targeting July 29th. We'll see if there's any merit to that as we get closer to the date, but it sounds like we could get some NBA back sometime soon. If you want to consider that soon. It's still not even in June yet, but we'll be soon. As far as KBO goes, we're still doing the grind. I know PGA is coming back in a couple weeks. I'm excited about that. I don't even play it. I'm just excited that regular sports are coming back. Just exciting that some aspects of the normal life are coming back. So up in Jersey, it's been a little while, so I'm happy about that. I don't know about you guys, but this week in KBO was not great for me. I know you guys know that the week before I had a really good week. A couple takedowns or just really good weeks in general. This week was rough, man. And a lot of it, I know some of you guys have tweeted me about the matchups, saying that you thought it had a lot to do with the matchups. And I've voiced it. I mean, I said yesterday, I was like, I said this morning, actually, when we were sweating the games, I was like, is it just me, or is it just like, has the KBO been boring as shit this week? And I feel like it kind of was. Right after I said that, right on cue, the Key Boom Heroes started posting crazy amounts of runs. So that's the jinx, and it works a ton. I mean, even with the Doosan, I think I tweeted something about Doosan sucking, and then they ended up winning the game, which they should have, though. So that's just, that was probably bound to happen. But, man, Doosan and the Dinos have been kind of cold. Mainly Doosan. They've been ice cold. But it could be a matchup issue. We're still learning these parks and everything like that. So there's a lot of things that I think we still have to consider. And we're still working with small samples. We don't have our traditional advanced metrics that we usually use. At least not all of them. Contact metrics, all that good shit. And we've gotten spoiled, man, because in MLB, we were starting to get into the exit velocity data, launch angles, and all that good stuff. So, I'm excited to break this slate down. I see Mosey B. Dowie24. I probably said that horribly wrong, and I apologize. But he says these Doosan and NCD stacks have been killing me. He needs us on this. Yes, sir. No, I'm with you. I need it too, man. I've had a rough week. I mean, you stack the good teams. Like I said, with the crazy matchups we've had, the good teams have just sucked, or the pitching. Like, I actually should have done okay yesterday, but I had a lot of what's his name? My highest on pitcher was C. Choi, the Henwa pitcher. He did well. I thought I was going to do a lot better. It just didn't happen. And sometimes the problem is like when the rest of the field is right about something and you were wrong. Like if you take a stand, I'm going to go underweight. Like I wanted to, like I'd mentioned Mike Wright. I was nervous about him. I just didn't really have a lot of faith in the LG guy, and he ended up being the spend up that you kind of wanted. So, you live and you learn. But I'm excited because we have a new series. We have these games going tonight. Obviously, we have a 1 a.m. lock. So expect these contests to fill and expect to see more contests because more people seem to obviously play when there's lock at 1. We don't normally do shows on the weekends, but because the KBO already has a designated day off, and I didn't get a chance to do one yesterday because shit was coming up, I figure I'm better off doing one when there's a 1 a.m. lock. 1 a.m. Eastern, of course, so that more people are actually going to try to give it a shot to play. So I may not do them on Fridays because we're not doing them on Sundays because there is no slate Monday. So I probably won't do them Fridays and Sundays, and maybe we'll do them on Saturdays because that's when we expect to see these 1 a.m. locks. And I think it's just more reasonable for everybody to kind of play. So No excuses. I mean, you can stay up till 1 tonight if you're on the East Coast. And if it's not on the East Coast, it's even easier for you. You can stay up a little bit to make sure you have confirmed projected lineups. The lineups you see on the screen behind me are projected lineups. When the real lineups come out, which is an hour before lock, I do go in and I post them. I will tweet from the WiseTake Twitter at @wise_take when the lineups are confirmed. The reason that's important is because I'm going to post our cheat sheet and projections after the show. I go through this, kind of analyze the games, and we make adjustments together. And once I post them, it's all projected information. So once the lineups come in, the cheat sheets do change. Players that are out get a 0 projection, so they're removed from the cheat sheet. Players that maybe were out on the projected lineup but are in will not have a projection. So you may see a difference. It may not be significant. It may be significant. You will see a difference in the projections and the cheat sheet. So it's important that you do come back and check it after the lineups are confirmed. And again, I'll post on the WiseTake Twitter at @wise_take when the lineups are confirmed. With that said, hit that like button if you haven't already, guys. The likes really go a long way. Allow us to continue to do the free content. And we like to do it. I like hanging out with you guys. I like breaking down these slates with you guys and gals. So please hit the like button because it really helps us out. With that said, let's go ahead and get in to our first game. We've got the Hanwha Eagles going up against SK once again. Well, I guess... I'm sorry. I guess the new series would start next time? Or no, something's not right here. Oh, no, I'm sorry. The new series starts in the next... Yeah, that makes sense. The new series starts on Tuesday. So, yeah, I just totally fucked that up. So, we're still on the final ones of these series. I mean, well, you know what it is? These series kind of... I feel like they just started, these matchups. But this is the third game. We've only had 2. That's why. So, that makes sense. You know, they don't have a day off during the week. So, it's just like series, boom. You know, it's just kind of like nonstop, and then all of a sudden, they're off. So these are the rubber matchups, I believe, for these series, to correct myself. But anyway, Hanwha Eagles, Chad Bell going up against Jong-hoon Park. So Chad Bell had pretty good numbers last year here. I'll see if I can pull this up. I know I could pull this up. Let's see if we have it. So Chad Bell had a 3.85 FIP, a 1.308 whip, a 17.89% K rate, a 1.87% home run percentage, which is really solid. We have full disclosure, we have a lot of really good pitching on the slate. Maybe you can tell a little bit from the 2019 numbers, but you'll see it even stronger on the 2020 numbers. We have a lot of good pitching today. With that said, With that said, Chad Bell, I think, was on a pitch count last time. He's been dealing with a little bit of an injury. So I would assume that he's going to be on somewhat of a pitch count. I'm okay with him in tournaments just to get different at 8-1 and just hope. When I say tournaments, I should be specific. I'm more okay with him in large field tournaments. We have so many good pitching on. We have so many good pitchers on the slate. I just don't see the need to really come here. Knowing he's going to be on some sort of limit, I don't think they'll go from 50 or 60, whatever he had last game, to 100, right? Like he's going to go somewhere maybe like 70, 75, maybe even 80. But the fact that he has a cap and we have so many other good pitchers on the slate, I'm not crazy to do it. I do think he's going to be pretty good. He was pretty good last year. I don't know why he wouldn't be good this year. And he looked good in his last start, as far as I know. So I'm okay with it. There is some merit, I think, to looking harder at the SK offense, simply because, number one, they've been heating up a little bit. And number two, there's a good chance, like I said, that Bell will be on some sort of limit. So if they can elevate his pitch count early, he may not be in there all that long. And then you get some bullpen action, right? That could be interesting. But as far as, before I move on to the other pitcher, we'll talk a little bit about this offense. The problem with SK, number one, they've been terrible. They've been playing a little bit better lately, but they've been terrible overall. And even if you look at their offense of what's left, they have a lot of these young guys up here. Hanggu Lee, Hyun Jung, these are all young dudes. Soo Kwon No, and they've been playing a little bit better lately. You're starting to see guys hit home runs and things like that. However, if you look at really the rest of their offense, it's really Jeon Chong, who's been red hot finally. He seems to be waking up, and Jamie Romack. Both of them have some progression coming, I would think, and we're seeing Choi's right now. He's been on fire. These are guys that hit 29 home runs apiece last year, and they only have 2 each. I think Choi may have a little more than that now, because like I said, he's been heating up. So that's the only issue with the SK stack, is the players themselves. I don't have a ton of confidence in outside of Choi and Romack. If you were going to be stacking them, you're starting with Choi and Romack. I can't see it. And then Soo Kwon No would be that other guy that would creep in there for me. At least he's shown a 407 WOBA so far this year. So I'm actually okay with the SK stack. Not over the top with them. But I think it's more because I don't really have any plans on using too much Chad Bell. Again, it's not really against him. It's more so about the potential limit and the fact that the pitching is deep today. As far as the other guy, let's take a look at his opponent. We've got Jung-Hoo Park. So 2019, he had a 4.29 FIP, a 1.5 WHIP, a 15.55% strikeout rate, and a 1.87% home run percentage. This is the guy I used the picture of for the thumbnail on YouTube. And the only reason I just did it to try to have a different player going, just to do something different. And I think his ownership is going to be low and his matchup is good. I think he's one of the more interesting decisions on the slate, not necessarily from a popularity standpoint, because there's plenty of players you can go without bringing an eyelash at him. But he's got a really healthy projection. If you look at his 2019 numbers, they're not great. So why am I even talking about him? It's because he's been different in 2020. He's got a 2.96 FIP so far, a 1.131 WHIP, 18 WHIP, a 27% strikeout rate. Now, again, if you look at 2020 numbers here, you'll see we have a lot of guys with strikeout potential. The home run rate is up, but the Ks are way up. I'll gladly take a slight increase on his home run percentage for a massive increase on his strikeout percentage. Now, I went back and checked, man, he's getting the Ks. His FIP tells us he's just been pitching really well. The whip being down, I think, has something to do with, down from last year, I should say, has a lot to do, I would assume, with his strikeout rate going up. And he's playing Hanwha, the Eagles, who've been one of, if not the worst offenses, especially lately. They will score their runs, but they do strike out. And you can see with Jung-Hoo Park, we have a 20.57% strikeout rate for this opposing team. So, this dude's been a strikeout machine. Well, my problem with this whole situation is that real? Like, is he really that guy? That we don't know. Because last year he wasn't anything close to that. So at some point, is it going to come back down to earth? At some point, is shit going to, you know what I'm saying? Matter of fact, we can look at his game logs real quick. So, in his first game of the season, it was actually against Hanwha. He didn't do so well. 8 hits, 4 Ks, 5 innings. Then he played LG, struck out 7 in 5 innings. Played Kiwoom. So those are 2 really good offenses, much better than Hanwha, and he pitched well. 6 Ks in 5 innings, and then most recently he played Doosan. Only gave up 1 earned run in 7 innings, 8 strikeouts in 7 innings against Doosan, a team that has like a 13% K rate. He's been awesome. He's just been awesome. So what do we do with him? Again, I think his ownership's going to be low. He has a phenomenal matchup. You could argue one of the better matchups on the slate, especially with the way Hanwha has been in general. So I think I'm going to work in some. It's hard to sell a ton of him. It's hard to sell a ton because we have Chris Flexen, we have Mr. Koo, we've got Drew Gagnon, who's been awesome. You have a decision to make with Straley. There's a lot going on. So I think the ownership on him with all those foreign-born pitchers available, people that kind of ignore him, I think. And again, I think it's interesting. We even saw Shiwang Zhang kind of, he only ended up with a 15 because his pitch count was up a little bit. He was walking dudes, but he still struck out a ton of people and went for 15 in just a few innings, even in 5 innings, even giving up runs. So there is some upside in attacking this team. I am kind of interested in Jung-Hoo Park, but I'm probably spending way too much time in comparison to my interest level. It's just a tougher decision with him. The other guys are more obvious. That's the only reason I'm talking about him so much. With that said, let's go ahead and go on to the next game, which is what? The KT Wiz and the Kiwoom Heroes. Exciting. So Kiwoom obviously went nuts, and they were expected to be one of the better, stronger offenses, and they kind of got off to a little bit of a slow start. So we got Jae-Sung Bae and we've got Sung Ho Lee as our pitchers here. Again, when I say good pitching, like these are 2 pitchers that I don't really have any interest in playing, but I'm not thrilled about attacking. The problem is there's really not going to be a lot of pitchers on this slate that I'm going to be excited about attacking because a lot of these guys have decent numbers, and we're going to start with Jae-Sung Bae here, and these are 2 obviously these are 2 good offenses too. But looking at Jae-Sung Bae, last year, 3.66 FIP, a 1.428 WHIP, which is not bad when you consider he only had a 16% K rate. Only a 1.06% home run percentage. These guys are better at pitching to contact. Not as many home runs being hit by these offenses anyway. So You know, in the MLB, you give up too much contact, you're bound to give up home runs, right? I think like the home run to fly ball ratio is around what? The average is somewhere around 12 to 15% in the MLB. So you keep giving up contact, you're going to give up more home runs, and that's not necessarily the case as much, or it's not as bad in the KBO. So last year, the numbers were promising for Bae. And this year, more of the same. A 2.94 FIP, a 1.303 whip, a 13.59% strikeout rate. So he's not striking dudes out. He's just not really getting tagged. Obviously, he's playing a good offense, one of the better offenses on the slate. So it's almost by default you kind of want to go after him. And even he's got a really good projection for us. So I don't plan on playing a ton of him. We have so many strong pitchers. I'm not coming to a guy that has the lowest strikeout rate on the slate in 2019 and the lowest one of the lowest strikeout rates on the slate last year. So I guess with that said, you almost want to force yourself to, find some offenses to have interest in. And in the meantime, I think Kiwoom is a team we could roll with, man. I mean, they put up, 12, 14. They put up a massive amount of runs. We may have to give them a little boost on our projections. Our projections don't love them a ton. They don't hate them, but they don't love them a ton. And it's because, like I just showed you, Jae-Sung Bae's numbers were solid. So it's something we're going to have to manually input. And it's based off the league averages, not just the slate averages, right? If we did slate averages, he'd probably come out ranking as one of the worst, and we probably would be getting a lot more Kiwoom. So I'll probably make an adjustment to the projections before I post them to get more Kiwoom love. We've got Sang-Ho Lee on the Wiz side. Last year he had a 4.09 FIP, a 1.51 whip, a 15% K rate, a 1.88% home run rate. So far this year, a 3.92 FIP. He's got a 5 ERA, but looks like he's been a little unlucky. 1.4 whip. Ks have been up. Home run percentage is also up. I mean, to me, if I had to make a decision right now, you could argue that he's the worst pitcher on the slate. And just in combination, when you combine the strikeout rate with, I mean, really, and mainly looking at kind of last year's numbers, right? And if you look at what he's actually been averaging, like his averages really aren't great. He's got the lowest projection on the slate. So I think the KT offense, the KT Wiz offense by default, one, I think they'll pick up some ownership because it's an easier decision to make. And number two, I do think that they are pretty in play. I think they're a pretty good offense in general. They're missing Kang, which sucks. Not this Kang. They're missing the other Kang, who's a beast and is still out. But Mel Rojas is obviously a good player. He's been playing well. Young Ho Jo has played well. He got a 477 WOBA so far in 2020. Zhang De Bei, the other Bei, 446 WOBA, 178 ISO, and he hasn't even hit a home run. So he's just getting it done. So I do like the KT Wiz offense. It's hard for me to say if they're my favorite at the moment. I guess I'll have to make those decisions in the article. But I do like the KT Wiz offense and the KIW by default. But the KT Wiz is in a better theoretical spot because Sang-Ho Lee's numbers are slightly worse than Jae-Sung Bae's. But either way, we're looking at Bae. He's not striking people out, and with Sang-Ho Lee, he's, like I said, it's just last year his numbers were terrible. So his home run rate's up this year too. So that's kind of where it's at right now. Yeah, Robert Hare, Mike Concho first. Gilbert Powell, what's up, bro? I see you said let's go. Let's do it, man. Mike Concho says, NC and Doosan have lost me so much money. With that said, I'm going right back to the well tonight. No, bro, I understand. And we're going to talk about those situations. I'm in the same position. I've been playing them every single day, and they've been screwing me every single day. Robert Hare says, throw KTW in there. I always play the wrong KIW and lock guys. Yeah, it's been brutal, man. You know, the team that's been getting it done consistently is Samsung. The last three games or so. We'll talk about them as well later. But yeah, man, I understand the frustration. I do. But I think that I can tell you this game, for whatever it's worth, has the highest projected run total on the slate. It's the only one with a double-digit run total of 10. Everything else is under that in single digits. So for what it's worth, and it makes sense. We have a lot of good pitchers, and these are just two of the, these are, if we had to make cuts of who the best pitchers on the slate are, these two would be the first one gone. I think maybe one other guy, but they're all decent. So yeah, the KT Wiz offense, I have ahead of Kiwoom, but I do like both in the highest total game on the slate by default because of how good the other pitchers are. Beggars can't be choosers. We got to make something work, right? We talk about the lemonade thing, same thing when approaching slates. All right. So let's go on to real quick about Kiwoom. So their catcher had a freak of a day. I think it's Dongwon Park, who is the actual one who beats it, and then they have a shortstop who, Jung Kim, this guy, man. Oh my God, those two had just monster fucking days. But Byung Ho Park Eunsu Kim is one of their beasts. I know he's kind of been like mediocre lately the last couple of days, but he's right on pace with his averages, and he put up beasts of numbers last year with 33 stolen bases in addition to the 19 dingers. So Byung Ho Park, man, he's still got some positive, if you want to call it progression coming. He's got some coming still. Mike Concho says, I'd rather give my money away than play Samsung. Bro, is it like a brand issue? Or is it like a Samsung brand, or do you just it's because you just think the team is fucking terrible? I mean, it doesn't matter. I'm just curious, but I'm just wondering because I love Samsung TVs. I prefer I have mostly LG TVs. I think because they've been just, I'm gonna take what I can get deal wise, and I've been able to get better deals on the LGs. But I'm just curious, man. But I understand. Give my money away. They play Samsung. I hear you, Bright. I hear you, Mike. I hear you loud and clear. All right, LG going up against the Kia Tigers, Tyler Wilson and Drew Gagnon. So we got some good pitching. We talk about good pitching. We got some more good pitching here. First, we'll talk about the offense just briefly. LG is a good offense, right? Like, they're capable of striking out and being shitty. We've seen pitchers have really good games against them. We've seen several pitchers have really good games against them. But we've also... Wait a minute. Hold on, I gotta check one thing real quick. Oh, okay. So no. Never mind. So anyway, no, that's not right. One sec, guys. Hold on. See that? Give me 1 sec to just check something real quick. Okay. Forget it. Yeah, this is his first year in the KBO. I don't know why. I had 2019 numbers that look really similar to what he's doing. Anyway, so yeah, LG's got Roberto Ramos, obviously, who's just a beast. Continues to be cheap. He's cheap every single day. He's got an 11.63% home run percentage now. He's at 10 homers already. He's a freak. 453 ISO, 543 WOBA, just a freak. Eunsu Kim is a former major leaguer, used to play for Baltimore. He's having a good season so far. 467 WOBA, 186 ISO. So we got some good players, man. This Unsung Choi guy, who has been leading off for them, is off to a great start. He's already, as of right now, he's doubling his, just about doubling his 2019 home run percentage. So this is a good offense, but we've seen them have some bad games. We've seen them strike out. We've also seen them hit a lot of home runs. The Kia offense, to me, is more of a mediocre team. They got some good players like Preston Tucker, for instance. And you can see that guys like Hyungwoo Choi was solid for them last year and is already having a good season. Chiwon Na has been playing a little bit better than he played last year. The ISO has been up. The WOBA has been way up. So they have some guys that can produce. Min Sang Yo is underproducing pretty severely. They have some good players. We just not either, but the guys around those good players are terrible, similar to SK, except they should have 4 instead of 2. That's the difference, but the 2 SK has are really strong. So again, it's not an offense that I love picking on, but it's not an offense that I'm like terrified of with the right setting. With that said, we've got 2 pitchers that have been solid so far this season in the KBO. One of them did pitch here last year, and that is Tyler Wilson from LG. He had a 299 FIP, a 1.162 whip, 17.96% K rate, 0.92% home run rate. Really, really solid in his league. You look at what he's done this year. He's got a 3.58 FIP. I know he's got a 4.24 ERA. Looks like he's been a little unlucky. But 3.5 is a really solid FIP. A 1.029 whip is solid. The Ks are slightly up at 19.35. That's solid. The home runs are also up. That's a little, but everything else is looking pretty good. And then we look at Gagnon, who's in his first year in the KBO. Man, this guy has just been lights out, man. 1.89 FIP, a 0.943 whip, a 33% K rate, 1.09% home run percentage. So this is a polarizing spot, man. Our projections love Gagnon. I don't know what Gagnon seems to be the Ramos of pitchers. Like they're just going to continue to keep his price disrespectfully low, despite the fact that he's just been dominant, man. So his first start was against Samsung. That was kind of mediocre, but still he put up 11 DraftKings points. Struck out 5 and 5 and a third. His next start was against Hanwha, so he played pretty easy schedule to that point. 9 Ks in 5 innings. Gave up 7 hits and 4 earned, but because of the 9 Ks, he put up a 16. Then 9 Ks against a lot of Giants in 6 innings, went for 32. Then he played the KT Wiz. who's been very, if you don't want to call them a good offense because they got injured, they've been at least pesky, man. 8 strikeouts in 7 innings. He's been awesome, man. He's been awesome. Is this the spot where LG at low ownership just comes in and has one of those games? Because we've seen them a few times, LG at low ownership just come and just start teeing off on guys. And this could be a scenario like that. Guys like Roberto Ramos, Eunsu Kim, guys that got a pretty good stick. Gagnon is expected to be homer prone. He always kind of has. He just hasn't been so far in this league because they don't hit as many. But he's going to hit some guys that have that kind of experience. Kim with the major league experience, Ramos, who was obviously in the minors for the Rockies for a while. And it's just a beast. So I'm going to have a lot of Gagnon. I will. But I'm also going to try to work in some LG stacks in teams that don't have Gagnon to keep that scenario covered. Because, again, outside of that game we talked about, Kiwoom and KT, there's really not going to be a ton of offenses that you're just kind of drooling over, unless you're like a Dan Straley hater, which we'll talk about later. But that's kind of the situation of how I interpret at the moment. So I'm going to have a lot of Gagnon. It's hard to argue with those numbers. Wilson's the one that I don't know if he makes the cut. He's coming off a good game, did well. I took a big stand and played a lot of him, and he came through for me. But so did everybody else. He was mad chalk that day. I don't know. I mean, he'll be an option. He's definitely going to be in my pool. It's just a matter of how high he is up there. And I think I have Gagnon over him because Gagnon is cheaper, right? And then you're comparing him as far as upside goes. You got Dan Straley, who's got a shitty matchup, but a really strong K percentage. We talked about Jung-Hoo Park at low ownership. So I just don't know where he fits in on my list. Maybe the 4th or 5th highest owned for me personally, but I like him, but I do like Gagnon a little bit more. It's hard not to, man. He's 6'7". We're talking about a $900 price difference for a guy that has, significantly more strikeouts and just better numbers all across the board. Holla back. But again, I will have some LG stacks and teams without Gagnon because they're that team, man. When they go off, they go fucking off with home runs, and you don't get that a lot in this league. We understand that. What we got next? Up in here, a lot of Giants and the DC Dinos. We got 2 more games. We pop in the YouTube chat. Let's get in there. Real quick. Hancho says Samsung is the least fun stack ever. I hear you. Robert said he's looking into Samsung because they're sneaky. They're always low owned because I think, Mike, you're right, man. A lot of people agree with that. I think that's, nothing pretty about it. Don Dada DFS says Gagnon dong tonight. Yeah, so I'm assuming you think he's gonna give up a dong tonight. Wouldn't be surprised. Like I said, I'll have figure 320 teams I think I'm doing tonight in different contests. So you figure I'll have a healthy amount of Gagnon, but like I said, I'm going to try to work in 10, 15, maybe even 20% on G-Stacks on teams that don't have Gagnon for the upside, because there's upside there. And I think, Gagnon hasn't been popular, despite the fact that he's been playing really well, and he should have been at these prices. He just hasn't been. He's coming in 30% on days where I'm thinking he's got to be 60% on, and it's just not happening. But I think this might actually be the slate, and maybe not because we have a lot of options, but if there was a slate, this might be it, because Straley has a really shitty matchup. Tyler Wilson's $900 more in the same game. And then you have your spend up. So I could see Flexen really being the 3rd highest or 3rd most popular outside of Flexen and Koo or something like that. But we'll get into it. Which is why I was kind of looking at that other guy from SK just to be a little different. But we'll see. That comes with some risk. For sure. We'll go to the next one, which is the Lotta Giants and the Doosan Bears. We got our boy Straley to talk about. Choi. So Dan Straley and Chris Flexen, two white boys, two foreign-born players in the KBO. That's what they like to call them. So offenses, a lot of Giants expected to have a bottom half offense. They were, I think, last place last year. They got off to a pretty hot start, but since then they've kind of really cooled things down a little bit. And you can see at their 2019 ISOs, they really didn't have a lot of power. You got Jun Woo Jian, who hit 22, Daeho Lee, who hit 16. After that, Asi Upson had 10 for a 105 ISO. It's just not a ton of power, not a ton of really anything, man. It's very unexciting. Dan Straley has been pretty polarizing, I'd say, right? He's been good for the most part, good-ish. I don't even know how to really describe it. We'll go through his game logs. His first game was against the KT Wiz, which we now know is a pretty tough opponent, and that was with Kong in there. Struck out 4 in 5 2/3, 3 walks, 2 earned runs, 3 hits, went for 13, which wouldn't be ideal at this price, but it wouldn't kill you, right? At 13, he's almost at the 2x that you were looking for. It's just you're hoping you'd like to get more out of a pitcher, right? The very next game was against SK. That was his freak show performance. 11 strikeouts in 7 innings, only 3 hits. Went for 39.95 DraftKings points. Went for 6x. Wait, we're talking basketball numbers at that price. At 7, he was 6'7" that day. Hanwha, one of the weakest offenses in the league, not so well. 4 Ks, 3 walks, 2 earned runs, 7 hits. Only put up a 7.75. He went on 4 days rest later. I think it was, or maybe it was 5. Maybe like the exact 5. Anyway, 6 strikeouts through 5 innings against Kia. However, 4 walks, 5 earned, 6 hits. So the walks have been kind of an issue for him. The walks do look like they've been kind of an issue. Against Samsung, he had 7 Ks, 4 walks, 3 hits, no earned runs. So I think that, like, Straley is kind of strange. Like, he's in a position where he could get himself in a lot of trouble. You walk one guy, walk 2 guys, and then the guy does hit the home run off you. You're in a really bad position. So Straley's interesting. I think Straley's ownership, and Straley's been chalk most days that he's pitched. I think his ownership's going to be low today because I don't think we have a ton of other options, and I don't think people are dying to pick on Doosan, even though they've been cold. So I know a lot of you in the chat have been talking about going right back to Doosan. I'm in the same camp. That's what I plan on doing. I'm wondering, though, is that what everybody's going to do? I'll have a little bit of Straley, not going to have as much as I would normally, obviously, because of the matchup, and I'm kind of hoping that Doosan's one of the offenses that does the dirty because I plan on getting a substantial amount, and I'm going to stay with him because we've seen it. When they are playing well, when they are hot, there's nothing really like Doosan or NC just going nuts like that. And they've done it more regularly, so they could be cold. Right now, it could be maybe at home, this is what they do. We don't have all the data that we like, but polarizing situation. We could look at the numbers that we do have. So Straley's only been here this year. So far, he's got a 2.86 ERA, but a 3.24 FIP. 3.24 is very good, but looks like he's been a little lucky. A 1.271 whip, a 27% K rate. So something's going to win out here because Doosan has about a 13 or 14 or 15, depending on the lineup, percent strikeout rate, one of the lowest in the league. Straley's flashing a 27%. Something's going to give. Straley has a 1.71% home run percentage. That's almost right around last year's league average. That's got to, at some point, something might give there. He's going to be a below average home run guy or an above average. So we're going to find it a lot today, which makes it such an exciting slate. So Straley, again, I wouldn't be as interested except his ownership. So we can see based off matchup, he's averaging around an 18 projection wise, and we've got minus the matchup, putting him down to about 16, which is still good for his price. So I'll have some Straley, but I'm going to have a lot of Doosan stacks as well, another polarizing situation, and that's one of the reasons I recommend you guys do play as many lineups as you can to get that diversity in your portfolio, if you will. It's the same thing a financial advisor would never tell you to invest all your money in one or two stocks, right? They're going to tell you to be as diverse, not even the same industry. They'll tell you to be diverse and spread out. That's just the way you do it. So money management, guys, that's what it's all about. But in the meantime, you got a very serious decision to make with Straley here, because I think he will be low on, but we know that things can get pretty ugly for him real quick. Now I'll say this: his worst game was against Kia. He went 5 innings, gave up 5 earned runs, 4 walks, 6 hits. So you have to ask yourself, how good of a stack was Kia that day? Because the score was 6-0. But with that said, this will be by far the best offense he's faced. Before this, the best offense was KT, because he's played SK, Hanwha, Kia, and Samsung. So of that group, KT would be the best. After that, I would say Kia so far has been the best because SK's been cold. Maybe SK now is a little bit better, but at that time, they started out the season ice cold. He took full advantage. So I don't like this spot for Straley, man. If he's gonna be walking dudes and he's not getting strikeouts, that the more I think about it, that makes me nervous. If he's gonna be walking dudes and he's not gonna be getting strikeouts, that makes me nervous a little bit. We'll see. I'll probably have some just in case, but I don't know. I definitely prefer the Doosan side of the situation, even though they've been fucking cold and just destroying my KBO life. Chris Flexen is on this slate as well. As far as the Doosan offense, we know the usual suspects. Again, guys are starting to cool it down a little bit. Jose Fernandez, It's still getting on base. It's just he needs the team to get going. He's getting walks and singles and all these things, but you know what to do. One of the most annoying things is if you look at their best 4 hitters on DraftKings, you really can't play them all together because they all have first base eligibility. 2 of them have the same, like Fernandez and Choi have first second, but J-L-O is only first. Jae-Hwan Kim you can play on the outfield. So between Fernandez, O, and Choi, you can only play 2 out of those 3. So that's fucking annoying. But aside from that, man, this Kyung Min Hyur guy has been doing well for me. He's extremely cheap every day. He's had a smash game the other day. So there's definitely upside here. Soon Bin Jung, 26 stolen bases last year. Keep that in mind. Has 1 so far this year. But interesting situation. Moving on to Flexen real quick. This is also Flexen's first season in the league. He's been phenomenal. Just phenomenal. 3.14 FIP, 1.115 whip, 25% K rate. He gives up home runs once in a while, but solid, man. He's been real solid. He's playing a lot of Giants who are projected to be, like I said, one of the weaker offenses in the game. Looking at Flexen's game logs, his first game was against LG. We talked about that. 6 Ks, 7 hits, 3 earned runs, 1 walk. Walked away with an 18, which even at this price at 8.6, really wouldn't kill you. He was 9.2 that day, and it was still about 2x. He played a lot of Giants earlier this year. He gave up 2 earned runs, struck out 6, gave up 6 hits, went for 20. You would probably take a 20 at this price. Maybe it wouldn't be enough on this slate because we have so many good pitching, but I think you would take it. Against the Dinos, obviously, that was the toughest team he's faced so far. 10 Ks, that was impressive. We know the Dinos have been striking out a lot, despite the fact that they are a good offense. 1 earned run, 4 hits, 2 walks, went for 32 DraftKings points. Obviously, at that point, you're just, at completion. And then SK, and again, we mentioned SK was starting to kind of get it together, but very disappointing performance here. 4 Ks, 4 walks, 3 earned, 4 hits, 6 innings, which was good, but only at 10. So against a lot of Giants at home, I do like Flexen quite a bit, man. I think right now we got Koo, who we'll talk about. We got Gagnon, but Flexen's in my top 3. Koo, Flexen, Gagnon's probably the top 3, and then you're starting to split hairs there with Tyler Wilson and Jung-Hoo Park, and maybe even Straley in that conversation, whoever else you want to work in. But I got no problems here with Flexen as far as strikeouts go. We did see that this projected lineup has about an 18, which really isn't bad. It's not the most we've seen. We usually see teams like the highest will be like in the 20s, but 18 is pretty fair, pretty reasonable to expect Flexen to be able to get some Ks. So again, I do like Flexen. Flexen and the Deuce, all Deuce on in this one. So we'll see if they can screw us one more time before the break, right? We'll see what they do with that. Last game, we got the NC Dinos. We got the NC Dinos and the Samsung Lions. This is Mike Honcho's favorite team to stack, apparently, the Samsung Lions. Just messing with you, Mike. We got Chang Mo Koo and Chae Hyung Choi to discuss. More pretty good pitching. Well, one really good pitcher. So we know the Dinos' offense is good. However, the Dinos' offense has been striking out a little bit more than you'd expect so far this season, probably because Aaron Altair is there, striking out 30% of the time. Samsung started off the season as like one of the highest strikeout teams, and they were terrible, but they've since kind of calmed down. You can see their opponent projected strikeout rate is down to 16%, which is really low. They've been hot, man. They've actually been like the hottest team over the last 3 or 4 days as far as winning games. They've been winning games, getting it done. Their bullpen's been doing a solid job. So the Dinos are on the table. I'm starting to learn the hard way that Samsung's bullpen seems to be decent, at least sometimes. At least when I stack against them, it seems. But we got a decision to make with the pitchers in this game, right? So obviously, Sungbum Na is like 50% owned every day. He's got 7 homers already. He's a beast. Eoji Yang is a freak also over there. He's like, if Yadi Molina hit home runs like a monster, that's what I think of when I think of him. They got a good team. Aaron Altair's been fucking terrible, but you know what? He's got 4 homers so far this year. So you'll take it. He'll strike out 30% of the time, but when he does get a hit, it's a good one. You'll take it. 4 stolen bases, yeah. So I'm good with the Dino stack, but let's talk about these pitchers a little bit and kind of break them down. So we'll start with Choi. Start with the home team. Last year, 4.81 ERA is not good, but a 3.69 FIP says maybe he's just a little unlucky, right? 1.528 whip, but again, that could have something to do with his bad luck. 18% K rate really isn't bad for this league. The 209% home run rate is what's going to make our projections really like the NC Dinos. Let's take a look at what he's done so far this year. A little different, right? A 1.88 ERA, 3.56 FIP. So the FIP is still good, but this time he's been a little bit more lucky this time around. The whip has been really low, probably a reflection of his luck, right? You notice the whip is really low, the ERA is really low, the FIP is about the same. The K's 19, that's around the same where he was at. You can make an argument to pitch this guy, no doubt, and his projection really isn't all that bad. I mean, his numbers last year's kind of bring it down a little bit. 1.04% home run percentage, which is down. So the question is, do you think that he's improved? Do you really think he's improved? Because if you do, then you're going to just take these numbers for what they are. If you don't, and you think that it's going to eventually go back to where he was last year, which really isn't too far off, except the luck difference, right? He's been a little lucky this year. He was a little unlucky last year. But the Ks are around the same. The main difference, of course, is the home run percentage. Is that going to increase? Because if that's the case, we're looking at an increase of 2x, right? We're looking at doubling that home run percentage. So, and the Dinos this year are a little bit of a different team. They're missing some players they had last year, but last year they had more home runs than anyone. So I do plan on playing some Dinos once again. I'm sorry, guys. I hate to tell you to play this shitty ass team that I've been recommending all week, and they've been terrible. But it's a process thing for me, right? I'm gonna keep rolling until they swing back around and do the dirty. And again, I'm saying that like I'll have the Dinos and I'll have Doosan, but I am gonna have these. I already talked about getting exposure to a lot of these offenses, so you see how I play. But as far as the most, like what stacks I'm gonna have the most of, it's looking like Doosan and NC once again. Now, for NC, the pitcher is Mr. Chang Mo Koo, who last year was awesome. 3.5 FIP, 1.178 whip, 25.39% K rate. Was a little homer prone at 2.23%. We'll give him that. So far this year, this guy's been just fucking lights out, man. 0.62 ERA, 1.72 FIP, 0.655 whip, 30% K rate, 0% home run. I love this dude. Quickly becoming a fan of Mr. Chang Mo Koo, and it's probably because he's got a cool ass name. I think that's got something to do with it. But in all seriousness, he's been Mr. Reliable, man. Averaging 31 DraftKings points so far this season, or something around there. And he's playing Samsung, which I understand they're not striking out as much. We talked about that. But number one, Koo is a well above average strikeout pitcher in this league, to this league standards, especially this year. And three, it doesn't mean that Samsung is, just because they're not striking out, doesn't mean that they're a great offense. They've been playing a little bit better lately, but they will not have seen a pitcher like this. We talked about Mike Wright's FIP and that kind of catching up to him. They have not, Koo is on a different level, in my opinion. So I expect Koo to dominate. He's my favorite pitcher. I'll have a ton of him. Of course, I think he'll be extremely popular. So I'm going to work him along with Chris Flexens, along with Gagnons, and so maybe that's where Tyler Wilson comes in as some pivot status and work these players in. But I do like Koo a ton. I expect to play a lot of him for sure. I expect my most common pairings to be Koo, Flexen, and Koo, Gagnon, and then I guess Flexen, Gagnon even. But I'm gonna, like I said, we have a lot of good pitching. I'm gonna work in a little bit of Straley, a little bit of Tyler Wilson, work in some of this Jung-Hoo Park character, and kind of take it from there. But the Dinos offense and Doosan once again do look good. We talked about KT Wiz as far as attacking the worst pitcher. Their pitcher seems to be amongst the worst. You can see it against Sang Ho Lee as a 2.3% home run percentage this year. K's around 17%. He's been a little unlucky. So you got that coming. Kiwoom, I think, would be next as far as top four on paper to me. Doosan because of them. Dinos because of them. But as far as the pitching, it's KTW first and then KIW, I guess. But yeah, so that's kind of where we're at. Appreciate those of you who are hanging out with us, man. Like I said, I'm gonna be posting the projections and all that kind of stuff. Creasley says took down the 50-cent tourney last night. Thanks, bro. Hey, man. Congrats, bro. Very, very happy to hear that, man. Very, very happy to hear that. That's awesome. That's awesome, man. I love to see people win. That's what this is all about, man. I don't do this for my health. I'm doing my thing regardless. I'm playing, man. I do this to try to help the industry a little bit and to build this community of players that can win and maybe work together to hit some goals, man. Hit some financial goals, hit some, just goals for the sake of the competition. People play for different reasons. But I want to help you guys hit your goals best I can. And if that's just sharing information, if that's what I can do, then I'm going to try to share some information with you guys. So love to hear that, man. Congratulations again, Creasley. George Killian says, if you were playing one team in a single entry, cash only, should I stack KIW and KTW, Koo and Gagnon at pitcher? If you could make it work, KTW at this point, I think so. At this point, let me see. KIW, I wouldn't. Well, let me be clear about this. I wouldn't really when you say stack in cash games, I don't stack like that. Like maybe 2-mans, 3-mans. In cash games, I don't do 5-man stacks because you are taking a lot of a risk with a 5-man stack, in that if you're wrong about the team, your whole team is shot. So in cash games, I'm even more so about like grabbing different. Okay, these two guys together maybe, but I'm just grabbing the hitters that I think are in the best spot. And to be honest, at this point, I think I would most likely play, because of the soft pricing, I'd probably play Koo and Flexen in cash. That's probably what I would do. Only because I think that Flexen has a better matchup than Gagnon. So I'm willing to pay for that floor, and I think there's enough value, like I said, especially without stacking, that I think I can make it work. So there you go. In tournaments, that's where I would get a little different. That's where I would work in more Gagnon. That's where I would look at the game stack or whatever you want to do, all that kind of stuff. But in cash games, there's no need to take that kind of risk. Robert Hare says Kyung-Ho Kim was traded from SK to Lot. So I haven't heard anything about that. I'll look. The lineups will be updated, and it shouldn't really affect the stats too much. So we should be able to stay on top of it. Gentile says, thanks for the content. Robert Hare says, thanks for the content. I appreciate the insight. No problem, guys. I appreciate you guys checking it out. Honestly, I really do. What you could do for me in return is hit that like button. And make sure you take advantage of the free stuff we're doing at WiseTake.com right now. It's not always going to be free, guys. You know, this is the company. This is what I do for a living. So, you know, I gotta go back to work. Right now, I barely consider this work because I enjoy it, and I'm just kind of hanging out with you guys doing free content. But at some point, you know, it's got to go behind the wall. The paywall, that is. And, you know, I hope some of you guys stick around by then, but regardless of any of that stuff, we're thinking ahead. Right now, it's free. So enjoy it, take advantage of it, see whatever you can get from it, you know. And again, I'm working on FanDuel. I'm working on having FanDuel by Tuesday's slate, projections at least. So I don't know if maybe the podcast sheet won't look different. I don't know if it might be too much for me to add all this stuff for a sport that's probably temporary, but I'm going to be able to at least have FanDuel cheat sheets and FanDuel projections available for download on the site as well. So that's coming for those of you who do play FanDuel. Other than that, hit that like button. That's really what helps me out and allows me to keep going. So if you guys can hit that like button, I'll greatly appreciate it. If you guys have any wins or anything like that, hit me up, man. Hit up the WiseTake Twitter at @wise_take. We'll retweet you. Hit me up personally on Twitter at @CK_013. At CK_013. Hit me up personally, man. Tweet me what's up, man. I like to talk to the nation and all that stuff. K-Bro says, do you like NC or Doosan stack better in a tournament? Ooh, that's a really good question. I want to say Doosan, but it's close. And the only reason I say Doosan is because I'm curious on how popular I think the Dinos will be popular. I don't know how popular Doosan's going to be. They'll be owned, but is it going to be split? Are people going to be split between the Straley side and their side? Because you could be on the Straley side, not as in I'm going to pitch Straley, but just as in I don't want to pick on Straley. You could be on that side. That exists. So I guess slightly Doosan, but we'll see. I'm going to write an article, and I'll have kind of my final takes in there. I'll try to add a third team. You guys could probably figure out that NCD and the Doosan will be in there. I'm going to try to find a third team to kind of put in there and hang my hat on. But and again, don't sleep. Like regardless, if you have those Drew Gagnons and all these, don't forget. It's okay to hedge a little bit. If you got a couple of Gagnon teams, you got a lot out there. Maybe that third team. So you got 3 teams and you got Gagnon on 1 or 2 of them. Maybe that third team should be an LG stack. Because like I said, man. You got teams, when you have a team that has upside like LG and the opposing pitcher is expected to be popular, that means their ownership is going to be suppressed. So just a couple of things to consider. But anyway, I'm going to get up out of here. Appreciate y'all. Hit the like button if you don't mind. For myself, the entire WiseTake Nation, as always, good luck.